I guess I'm coming up on 3 weeks of playing Black Desert Online, and by saying that I'm playing Black Desert Online for the first time, that's not true actually, because I have had this game installed in my Steam library for quite some time, longer than I could even really probably remember. I think it was probably somewhere around 2020 or something when I got Black Desert Online for the first time for $5 on a Steam sale, and it sat there, and I installed it, and I thought it didn't look all that good, and then I kind of moved on, and I tried every other MMO in the book, and now here I am, and I'm playing this game. I guess most recently because I got tired of Elder Scrolls Online on some level. It started to get on my nerves, and I thought, you know, I'm tired of all these monthly subscriptions. I'm tired of feeling like I have to pay a bunch of subs for a bunch of different games and a bunch of different streaming services and all of that. I just want to get back to simplifying. So that's really what I've been doing. And there I was, Black Desert Online, giving it a try. Played through the Calpheon and Valencia story quests, the revamped story quests that have voice acting, and I did enjoy that. I enjoyed the story quests more than I really expected I would. Not that they're out of this world good, but they're not too bad either. They're actually, you know, they're all right. In any case, they're certainly functional for a MMO, and I think it's important to make a distinction between great storytelling that we want to see in maybe a single-player RPG that's very narrative-driven, and something that is really just there to contribute to a sense of world building, to maybe give you access to the lore of the game, to give you a sense that the place that you're adventuring in is a real, tangible place with a story to it. It's not so much that you want to do something and see an outcome that changes the course of the world or anything like that. It's just something to add a little bit of depth to the place that you're going to spend a lot of in-game time in. In any case, I think having a little bit more healthy relationship with MMOs could be a good path to finding the time to play some of the other games that I have always said, you know, I'm going to go play those games. I want to do a playthrough, and then months go by and I still haven't gotten around to those other games that I wanted to give some time and effort to. So I think just kind of simplifying a little bit, it also can allow me to diversify my portfolio of games that I spend time playing, which would be a win for me and probably good for mental health too, just in the sense that, you know, I know this sounds cheesy, but you play games to immerse in something that's not the problems of the real world, right? And then it's easy to start getting wrapped up in feeling dissatisfied with elements of the game, or feeling like the game is becoming a job that you have to do, and then you're spending so much time thinking, well, what game am I going to play? Or something like that, that you don't really have a good time with the games you are playing, because you have this sort of a decision paralysis that hits you, and it's not a good thing. So I think having a simpler portfolio of games that you're focused on is helpful, so that you don't have that burnout of decision paralysis. And it's kind of interesting how life is oftentimes that way. To do more, you have to let go of something. You have to go slower now so that you can go faster later. And I think that it's important to have a clarity in terms of what you want to do with your hobbies and what you want to do with your time, because there's a lot of different things that we potentially are going to do in our lives. And if you want to have time for your work, for your family, for your friends, for all of the different things you might want to do in life, you really have to prioritize what things you want to give time and focus to. And I don't think that you have to give up gaming in order to have a balanced life and other aspects of it. It's just, you kind of can't have a good time with anything if you're trying to be all things to all people and dabble in everything. So, all that being said, here we are, 3 weeks-ish into the game, and now I'm doing the Valencia quest. Just finished making my way across the desert. I died a couple times trying to get across the desert, trying to learn how to survive out there. And it's really interesting how when you have fast travel by default in a game, it's so convenient, you don't really find reason to not use it. So instead of running from one place to another, instead of riding the distance, you just hit the teleport button and you're there. And it is convenient until you realize that the entire point of adventuring is to feel like you're actually there. And when you're instant teleporting from one place to another, you don't really feel like you're there. You feel like, you know, it's the same thing as if you got on an airplane and you flew somewhere, as opposed to going on a road trip or walking or riding a bicycle. It's just so very different because you have a sense of place. You have a sense of understanding what connects different geographies to each other. And I think Black Desert Online does a very good job of that, creating the sense of a world that is enormous. And it's debatable what MMO has the biggest world. I think probably Lord of the Rings Online has the biggest world. I don't know that for sure, but I think there's a good chance it does, just because it is extremely expansive. But the fidelity of that world is pretty low. And that's something that's also probably important to note. When you have a big world, the next question is, how much detail is there in the world? How fun is it to be present in it? And there's really pretty places in Lord of the Rings Online, but there's also some really lackluster places that don't look very appealing at all. Then I would say New World is very nice, but the world just isn't as large. And there's aspects of New World I just don't like very much. Like the character creator is pretty drab. The characters feel ugly. The world feels kind of soulless. And something that stands out about a world like Black Desert's world versus one like that of New World, well, Eternum is all about kind of undead people taking over most of the world. So most of the environment is centered around having these sort of undead creatures wandering around that you're fighting. So the atmosphere is just a little bit more dark, I guess. Whereas in Black Desert, you go into cities and you really feel like there's a solid sense that they are large and expansive, and the world you're interacting with is functioning kind of like a normal society in real life would. In New World, it just feels like everyone's sort of stranded on a hopeless island left to fend for themselves. And that's not to say that it can't be a pretty game and can't be a pleasant one to play. It's just, I think, the premise of having a little bit more of a based and grounded feel to it is nice in New World. And having some of the things that Black Desert offers, like a really nice character creator, and I guess just the diversity of different life skills, to where no matter who you are, there's probably something you can choose to do, and everyone is probably doing something different in the game. That's something that I think is really nice, because it contributes to that feeling that it's not a game, it's a second life being lived by the people who are playing it. And I think that's important to an MMO more than anything else, because you can say that graphics are important, and they are. Graphics are important. There's a reason why I want to play, say, Black Desert Online versus old school RuneScape. I'm not saying old school RuneScape doesn't even maybe have some better mechanics to a point. It has some things that would be appealing. But come on, the graphics are very, very primitive compared to Black Desert Online. You just can't really compare the two. So graphics do matter. But then if we took Black Desert Online and compared it to other single-player RPGs and AAA games out there, well, the graphics aren't really better than the best of the single-player games that you would find. I would think that probably if you were looking at Red Dead Redemption 2, if you were looking at Assassin's Creed Valhalla, there's a lot of different titles out there which could give Black Desert Online a run for its money. And if you compared them side by side, you would say, well, those other games are hands down far more immersive, far better. They have better mechanics in just about every way. They beat Black Desert Online, or any MMO for that matter. But the point is that we don't play MMOs primarily because they have good graphics. We play them primarily because they give us a sense of being immersed in a place. So if I was going to play Tomb Raider, I'm going to probably sit down and I'm going to play it, and I'm going to give it my full attention, and I'll probably play for, say, an hour or so. And my goal is going to be to move forward in the story and get to the next progression or save point in the game. And then I'm going to put it back on the back burner until I'm in the mood to play the game some more, maybe in another day or two. But it's not going to be the same as an MMO like Black Desert, where, kind of like I'm doing right now, it's just so easy to just chill in the game. Earlier today I was questing, and then I make my way into Valencia, and suddenly I just want to look around and I want to chill, and then I'm hanging around taking screenshots in the game for no particular reason at all. I'm just having a good time being there. Or you go into a town hub of some kind and you see other players, and you just kind of check out the characters and see, like, what have they made, what are they doing. Like, it's just that casual immersion. That is what is so cool, you know? Like, here we are outside this town, and there's the guild banner there up on the city wall, and it's this funny cat picture there that is somebody's guild insignia. It's actually pretty cute. I think it's another thing I really like about Black Desert Online is just I like the cute, positive art style of the game, where, like, it's just not, it's focused on themes that feel conventionally attractive in all ways, you know. And I've gotten so tired of the brooding, over-the-top desire to be dark in some fantasy games, like Elder Scrolls Online, for example. And I really like Tamriel. I may well decide to do a playthrough of Skyrim at some point, because I never have, and I think it's a classic game. Everybody should probably do at least one playthrough of Skyrim. In any case, when you look at ESO, though, there's always the focus on Daedric princes and lords of darkness and the underworld and all of the kind of stereotypes of darkness and evil and stuff like that. And after a while, it stops being scary. It stops being unusual in any way. It stops being something that even turns your head. It's just another obnoxious thing that's in the general art style of being sort of dark and creepy and unusual. What I like to see is just normal stuff, not characters that look like they're trying to be some sort of tribute to the creepy, but just normal characters that are attractive, that are nice to look at, that look like real people, and things in the game that look relatable, like something that you would want to interact with in real life. And that's not to say that there aren't fantasy elements. There are. But overall, I feel like the art style and the vibe of the game in Black Desert Online makes me just enjoy being present in the world. Now, I do have to overlook a few things that I will point out as being pretty jank, like character animations. They can range from being nice and perfectly fine to being pretty janky and ridiculous. Like, look at this guy over, look at how he's hunched over and he's so strange looking. I guess maybe that's because he's like a giant or something, but the body stature is just a little bit off, and some of that is just the character animations in Black Desert Online often don't live up to the quality of the character creator, which has a world-class reputation of being best in the industry. But the character animations themselves of non-player NPC characters, those do leave something to be desired. In any case, you know, I've paid all of $5 for this game. You know, I still don't feel like I'm at a point where I need to spend any money. I'm going to keep on questing. I'm going to keep on leveling up my character, keep on learning game mechanics, keep on learning life skills and all of the different things that I still don't understand in the game. And then at some point, I'd imagine I'll hit some kind of a wall where I start to think, okay, I want to maybe spend some money on the game because I know what all of the different things are that I could be working toward in the game or getting, and I want to maybe, you know, spend some dollars on it. Or there's something cosmetically that I think would be nice to have and I want to spend some money. But I don't mind that. I don't mind that because if I spend hundreds of hours passively in the game just enjoying being part of the world, enjoying chatting with other people, enjoying the social experience, and then I get to a point where I feel like I want to spend some real money, that's actually great. It's an opportunity to support the developers, to support a game that has given me value. And it's so much better, though, that to be that way than to have a subscription where you feel like you have to pay to even log into the game. And Elder Scrolls Online is like that. Like, you buy the game for probably 50 or 60 bucks, and then you buy the expansion pack once a year for probably another $60, and then you pay $15 a month for ESO Plus so that you can have the crafting bag, and unlock the DLCs that you didn't pay for already. So the cost of entry to get into Elder Scrolls Online is pretty high, considering it's a 10-year-old game with bad combat. And more recently, it's also a game which seems to be on the track of becoming more woke and interested in adding in the bucket list of traditionally DEI woke sort of things, which I'm not personally a fan of. So, all in all, when you throw it all in the washing machine, $5 to play Black Desert Online and have a really great time at it in a game which feels like it does a better job at many things than any other MMO on the market, seems like a pretty dang good deal. And then there's the time I get back, because I can play maybe one MMO instead of juggling multiple, which is nice. One thing I will mention is the player community, and so far I've enjoyed hanging out in the chat, just bantering back and forth with people. I found it's easy to join some sort of a guild which is very casual, social, and willing to just engage in random chatting back and forth. And sometimes that's nice. You go to work, you come home, and you want to just jump into the game, do some random quests, gather some random stuff, sell it on the marketplace, chill out, and then chat to random people about things that may or may not have anything to do with the game itself. And suddenly you realize you may well have had a better experience in the game than you would have had if you actually went out of your way to have a social experience out in the real world. And that's pretty cool. Like right here, looking at this picture of the scene of the city of Valencia, that's a really nice view. But unfortunately, the draw distance just does not give us the opportunity to fully benefit from how great that view would be if we had texturing that was high res the whole way through. And I'm sure that's how the game winds up managing to look so good and be playable on any computer. But that is one of the drawbacks, where you can have a really beautiful game, but the pop-ins and the texture draw distance just aren't really all that great. So for that reason, Black Desert Online will struggle to look as good as it potentially could. But that's all right. And the reason I say that's all right is because I think back to some of those primitive games I used to play back when we didn't have the technology we have today. And I think I would have been pretty darn amazed to see a game with the graphical fidelity of Black Desert Online. And if the worst thing about it is draw distances, then I think I can probably cope with that. In any case, what else happened? Well, I managed to unlock the Fae Companion, which I think is pretty cool, and it's actually totally adorable to have the cute little fairy companion that follows you everywhere, along with your menagerie of pets that help you pick up loot off the ground. And it took me a while to unlock the fairy because I had to get a Layla's petal, I think it is. In any case, you were supposed to find it, according to the quest dialogue, you're supposed to find it by interacting with an unstable rift, and I was never able to find one. But then I found out you can actually get them through fishing. So I just let my character AFK fish for a while, and I wound up being able to find one that way. So one thing that really stands out to me about this game is you start off playing it and it feels overwhelming. It feels like you don't know what's going on. It feels like there's too many different systems and buttons and things just everywhere. And the game doesn't really make that much of an effort to spoon feed you exactly what you're supposed to be doing and what you're supposed to know. It kind of expects you to just play for a while and then slowly figure things out and grow into it, which works if you give it a chance. It works if you hit the wall and then you go to YouTube and you research something until you get the idea of what's going on. But if you are expecting that everything is going to just be super intuitive, there's moments in the game where you just kind of hit the wall and you might be tempted to be a bit frustrated and not necessarily know what's going on. And you have to, you have to power through that and split it all up into bite-sized pieces so that you don't become totally overwhelmed right out of the gate and then just burn out and walk away and say, well, I don't even know what I walked into. I'm going to just go out the way I came. And I think that's pretty much what happened to me the first time I tried Black Desert Online. I just kind of made this pop judgment of the game based on interacting with it for a very short amount of time. And it's when I came back to the game with the perspective of being a more seasoned person that has experience with what MMOs are all about and with a little bit more willingness to give the game a fair shot without jumping to a conclusion, that's when I started to think, you know what, I really actually am impressed with a lot more aspects of the game than I expected I would be. So let's see, what else do I have to talk about? Continuing to quest, unlocked a Fae Companion. I sailed across the ocean, figured out how to get a boat, sailed across all the way across the ocean to the land of the morning light and explored over there a little while, enough to kind of get an idea of what that's about. And I would say that that's one of those all-time cool experiences to have when you realize that you can go out to the pier, get in your ship, and then spend minutes or hours going on a journey across the ocean, avoiding storms, and eventually you arrive on the other side, and it feels like it really was a voyage that you went on. And again, it goes back to that premise of the world feeling huge because the game encourages you to actually take the time to travel the distance. If you're going from one place to another, it's expected that places far away will take you a while to get there. And at first that's obnoxious, but then when you start to slow down and you start to take in the sights along the way and you just let yourself be immersed in it, that's when you realize, you know, this is actually pretty impressive, pretty cool. And I think enjoying it comes down a lot to understanding that the design philosophy of an MMO is completely different versus a single player RPG. Even though they look the same, they're not the same genre even, really, because MMOs are all about living in the world passively, whereas RPGs are more about just experiencing a story in an immersive way. And I've spent $5 on this. $5 on the total experience of Black Desert Online. $5 for what now feels like an overwhelmingly large amount of world to explore, quests to interact with, other players to interact with. And what lies ahead, I don't really know, other than I have a whole bunch of quests to still do. I want to finish those, and right now my character's at level 57, so I'm going to finish leveling up at least to level 60 here, hopefully within the next couple of days or so. And once I finish unlocking and exploring the entire map and finishing all of the main story quests, then I guess at that point I'll just focus on passive life skills and finding things I can sell on the marketplace. And that's kind of enough. Then it's just you hang out and get to know people in the game and use it as sort of a social way to connect with others. And maybe I'll get into PvP some. Probably not, because I'm not really exactly a PvP kind of a person. I find that PvP is a pathway to frustration in MMOs quite often. Usually the people who are really into it tend to be frustrated with the game more often than not, because balance changes frustrate them, and other players' type of conduct frustrates them, so much frustrates them. And then when you think, if you want to actually be competitive with PvP, why would you choose to do that in an MMO when you could go play an RTS or a FPS game or a MOBA? There's so many different games out there that have excellent PvP systems. It just seems like MMOs, which are rewarding players for having a sense of progression and a sense of power in equality, it just sort of feels like PvP and MMOs is always going to be a janky, awkward thing where people want it, but it's a niche because people don't necessarily enjoy the experience as much as they think that they will. So I'd rather be more of a passive life skiller kind of a person that just quests and hangs out and lets it be a virtual world without any firm objectives, but something that you can be part of. And again, I think the more you try to spend time in a game, the more you're likely to burn out. So if you install a new game and you spend all day playing it, that's not really that hard. But then you come back the next day or the next weekend and you put more time into that game. Well, the more time you put into it, the more likely you are to hit that saturation point where you say, all right, I've had enough of this. I'm not having fun. I think I'm going to hang it up. And then you log off. And whether you intend to deliberately or not, you just never come back. And I think for Black Desert Online, my experience continues to be probably around 3 weeks in at this point. I still feel like I want to be part of this world. It's actually growing on me more. And the interactions and the things that I've learned about the game have made me feel more likely to want to play it, not less likely. And so I continue to be pleased, pleasantly surprised, and reasonably excited to see what does my future in Black Desert Online look like. So, till next time, always love to hear your thoughts, and good luck on your adventure wherever you may find yourself. Best wishes, and thank you.